Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Hopefully, bringing better energy this week. I apologize. I dropped a little apology on the Hobby Chop episode, but man, I didn't even realize how tired I was. And I came back and I did that episode and I listened back. I'm like, oh, you were so low on energy. So I appreciate everybody was listening and nobody complaining, but I definitely wanted to just throw a little apology out and definitely try to bring better energy moving forward. This weekend, definitely not as hectic as last weekend. I walked two local shows, one Saturday, one Sunday, and I also ventured up to Massachusetts to meet somebody to do a deal. I'll share that deal and my pickups from the week, which include a banger, Mahomes numbered rookie card. I'll share all that with you a little bit later. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about a few things. I am absolutely sure I've talked about on earlier episodes over 6 seasons, but definitely want to touch on it again because I'm seeing it happen more and more at shows. One thing is communication, and the second is just body language at shows. Uh, it's so important, regardless of what side of the table you are on at a show, whether you're a dealer or you're an attendee walking, um, whether you're looking to buy somebody's cards or somebody's looking to buy your cards. Um, First and foremost, you have to remember this is a hobby. And for all intent and purposes, right? I know people, this is a business for most people and it's run like a business. But for all intent and purposes, it's a hobby and it's supposed to be fun. Even more importantly, if you're on the dealer side of the table, and I've had this conversation with so many other dealers, um, you may not think this, but you are representing you and your business, right? Because once you become a dealer, it's a business. Even though it's a hobby, it's still a business. I mean, most people aren't there for free. Most people aren't there because they enjoy it. Most people are there because they're making a little money. Regardless, maybe they don't have to live on this money. Maybe that money is just to reinvest back in the hobby. I mean, we all hobby differently, right? But at the end of the day, you are representing yourself, your table, just like a business. Um, every customer that walks up to my table, I want to treat them like they just walked into my store, right? I want them to feel good. I want them to feel welcomed. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to be happy they're there. Feel good about coming. When I go to a card show, I don't know, I'm thinking computers. When I go to a card show, right? I'm excited. Whether I'm setting up as a dealer or I'm going to walk a show, I'm excited. I'm excited to go there. And most people, right, that come in are excited to be there, right? They're happy to be there. They've been looking forward to this all week. So picture you owned a store, right? And all of a sudden your store is just open Saturday. That's it. You're only open Saturday. You open the doors 9 a.m. People come in. I mean, you want to greet them. You want them to feel good about coming. You want them to be excited to come next Saturday and the Saturday after or whatever, whenever you're open, right? Come on in. Any questions? Ask questions. You want to see something? Let me know. I'll take it out for you. Um, you know, I always revert back to this in so many things in my life, and I talk about this, that there was this book I read years ago, and it was called The Perfect Interview. Somebody gave it to me. I was probably right out of college, and it was just tips on how to act and present yourself in an interview, you know. And one of the first things they said when you walk in and you meet the person that is interviewing you, you should treat them like a friend. a really good friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're so excited to see them today. Just so excited to see them today. That's the energy. Bring that energy. That's the energy that you should bring when you're starting this off in this interview. Um, and this has stuck with me my whole life. I've done this my whole life. When I'm just seeing my friends like that, or when I'm meeting somebody new, I try to bring that energy like they're a long lost friend. And I'm so excited to meet them. Right. Um, what brings this up, you ask? Well, look, I was at a local show on Saturday, and I had just gotten there. Bill and Billy were set up. They had a table. I went over, hey, how you guys doing? Always bringing the energy. They were looking through somebody's case, a father and son who was at the table. Uh, Bill said, hey, they have some nice cards in here. You might want to look. Might want to take a look at these cards. Maybe something in here you'd be interested in buying. So when he was done, I said to the father, hey, is it okay if I look at the cards? He said, yeah, absolutely. Is everything in the case for sale? Yes, everything in there is for sale. And I like to ask that now. I've learned my lesson, because the worst thing, and even when I'm a dealer and somebody shows up and they say, hey, you want to, as soon as I open it up, I say, is everything for sale? Is there something that's off limits here? Because it's usually that one card that you find in there. You're like, oh, yeah, this is the card I want to buy. And you start comping it and everything. And then they're like, oh, no, that one's not for sale. Or I just bought that over there. I'm not selling that today. So I always ask that, is everything in here for sale? Like, what's off limits? Is everything fair game, that type of thing. And just being courteous too. Good communication. I've already set up some ground rules, right? Already. Hey, can I look? Is everything for sale? All right, let's get going. So I pull out like 5 cards. I pulled up the recent comps on the 5 cards. And, if you have an iPhone, this new update on the iPhone, which I kind of like, when you're using the calculator, it lists everything, when you're doing like this plus that plus that, so I looked up each comp. I went in and I put them in. So it listed the comps up. And it also puts a nice size total up there so you can see. Um, so I said to the guy, before we go any further, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. This is what I get for recent comps on these cards, right? So you can tell as I'm doing this, I've done this for a while. Every step of the way, right? I really thought this out every step of the way, because I don't want to say, hey, this card here is comping for $75, and you say, no, I'm really at 150 on that card, or 140, and I'm pretty firm at 120, something like that. I'm fine with that. I'm just not going to put any effort into trying to figure out what's going to make sense for me to buy that card, right? So every step of the way, I try to have as much communication uh, as I can. So I show him the comps, and the total of them, those 5 cards, came to 525. Handed him he said, let me see the cards. I handed him the cards. He looked through the cards and he says, where do you want to be? And I said, well, if you're okay with the comps, I'll figure out some type of percentage, but I'm probably going to be somewhere around mid 400. As soon as I said that, he said, we're not even close. He grabbed the cards, he dropped them in the case, he closed the case, and he just turned and started walking or talking to somebody else. I mean, he literally just turned his back to me and was on to doing something else. There was no, probably a little too low for me, or, what are you getting for comps? How, how are you coming up with the 5? Nothing. It was just, we're not even close. Put them in. And then I was just standing there, and Bill and another person at the table both said to me, what did you offer him? Because they did it under, they figured there must have been something else that happened. I said, "I didn't even really make an offer." I said, "I showed him where the current comps were and told him where I would probably be, but I didn't even get to make him an offer." You would have thought that I offered him $50 for all these cards, the way what his body language was, and his lack of communication, right? Just to do that and turn. Um, and then about 30 minutes later, I was at another table of the show, and he walked up and he was looking and looking, and I was talking to a guy and he said, "Hey, can I see the cards in your case?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "Everything in there is for sale, you know." And I just kind of thought that maybe he thought to himself, like, maybe I misunderstood what he said, or maybe we could get a deal done, or maybe there's something in here maybe I might want to trade for, knowing he's in. Maybe this is the way this gentleman communicates, right? I have no idea. Maybe there was just some kind of a misunderstanding. I have no idea at this point. He looked through my cards. He saw one card he liked. He made a very low offer, which I countered. And he said, "No, I'm all set." And he walked away, which that's okay. That's pretty good communication there. I'm all set. Like, this is what I offered. You came back with something, and I wasn't interested. That's fine. I mean, I don't know why that didn't happen 30 minutes ago at that table, why it had to be bang the cards in the case and turn and walk away abruptly. Um, and then I thought maybe he didn't even realize that I was the same person he just talked to 30 minutes ago. Um, but the first time was just horrible communication. Uh, and I add the body language in there, and I'm going to talk about that a little more. Um, but again, just the way, the movement of snatching up the cards, put them in the case, closing the case. People thought there was a problem. I mean, people stopped and looked back, and we're all looking. But it drew some attention when he turned and walked away. And I think that's just because you don't usually see that at a show. It was out of the ordinary, right? This happening, and I'll even say that because, and I set up at a lot of shows, it's out of the ordinary. Somebody gets that annoyed where they put their cards in and slam the case down and walk away. So I think it drew some attention, and people were asking me questions. I'm like, I have no idea what just happened. I don't know why he got so upset. Um, my guy Scott, I talk to him all the time, and he talks about body language all the time at shows. He does a lot of buying at shows, and he says, "I'm looking for the dealer with the worst body language. That's slouched down in the chair and barely says hello when you walk up, just not present, maybe just in their phone and not paying attention." He says these are the dealers that he goes up to, and if he works on them, he can get good deals out of them, right? So he looks for people with poor body language at shows, uh, to try to find deals at. Um, and I wonder to myself, is it because they're just having a bad day and they just need to sell something, nothing is selling? Or people are just skipping their table because they may have had bad experiences with this person before, or this person doesn't radiate, you know, "Hey, come in, come into my store, come see what I have. Come on over. It's we're all friendly over here, right? It's all unicorns and lollipops. Come in quick," like that type of thing. Like, if you go to shows, there are people that just generally attract other people. They'll spark up my guy Brad, right? And he can start a conversation with every single person that walks by and continue the conversation, right? Where some people can just do that. They have enough knowledge about enough things that no matter what your interests are or what's going on, whether it's a jersey you're wearing or the hat you're wearing or a sticker on your case or something you just said or something you're looking at, in his case, he can, and he's very welcoming. He does very well at card shows because people are generally attracted to him. They come up and they like him. The next time they see him, they want to come back and see him again. That's the guy I want to be, right? I think that's the guy most of us want to be. We want people to show up at a card show and come and be like happy. I want to go see Big Ken. I want to go see what he has in his case. I like chatting with him. I like talking to him, even if it's just talking to him about the podcast or something else. That's what I'm trying to draw, to my table. And other people, they don't want, it's almost as if they don't want people to come to their table at all. Like they don't want to be welcoming at all at a card show. And because I do that, I mean, for me, I have great experiences at card shows. And look, if I go to a card show and I have a bad experience with a dealer and I see them at another show, I'll just keep walking. There's no need for me to stop at their table. There's no need for me to, maybe we can turn things around at another time or in another, maybe, sometimes I've had experiences with other dealers and then I end up being set up next to them. And then I start to understand it's not me. It's just, that's who that person is. That's who they are. And maybe that's not my kind of person, right? It's okay. I mean, we all have our kind of people, like who our people are, and they're always different. And that's probably what's so great, right, about the hobby or just in life in general. We get to choose who we want to surround ourselves with. Another experience I had today at the Sunday show, I was interested in buying a card at a table. I came up to a table, I saw a card. In fact, the dealer wasn't there. So it wasn't a big show. So I circled the room 3 times until the dealer got back to their table. I looked up recent comps on this card were between 165 and 205. 205 being the highest. And not the most recent. There was a buy it now on eBay for 195, which I felt was a little high. And a number of them on bids. Dealer had no prices on any of the cards in this case. So when he was there, I found him back there at the table. I said, "Hey, how much for this card?" He said, $275. So I said, "Have you checked the recent comps on this card?" And he just gave me a look. I was like, "Oh, okay." He didn't say anything. I said, "Okay, do you have any room on the card?" He said, "Well, if it's cash, I can come down to 250, but I'm firm at 250. Okay. Appreciate it. Right? No need for me to tell him that there's a 190, buy it now for 195 on eBay. Right? No need for me to tell him that he's way over, right, on his card. Because it's his card and he can sell it for whatever he wants to sell it for. Right? And I think that is another reason that people get very upset at shows, is because they don't agree what somebody is selling a card for or what their bottom line is, even if you could probably get it as a buy it now on eBay, right? And this is what I think another thing we need to understand at shows is, look, it's his card or her card, right? They can sell it for whatever they want, and maybe they don't want to sell it. Maybe saying at 275 is, I don't want to sell that card today because 6 months from now, that card may be $350, but I want to put it in my case anyways because I'm hoping it may attract people, right? And I know people have gotten upset with me before, really upset with me, like, there's no way you're going to get that. You're way too much, way over. This dude's way over on his price. Okay. I appreciate you letting me know. I'm not going to get mad at that. Why would you get mad at that? So when I'm at somebody's table and they're like, look, this is where I need to be, right? Okay. That's great. I don't need to say anything more because I know I'm not going to get that card. I could tell him I could buy it for $195, right? I could tell him that I wanted to offer him $175 on the card, but that's not going to happen. So I'm happy just to move on. I mean, maybe asking him if he comped the card recently didn't get us off to a good start, but I wasn't saying it the way it sounds. And I know what you're thinking. I know you probably said, well, you're the guy to ask him if he comped the card. I say it nicely because sometimes I go to a show, right? And I've got cards that were priced from previous shows, and I just may have not recomped those cards, and I put them in, especially if they're in a discount box. Especially if they're in a discount box. I'm not constantly going through, and I tell people too, like, look, if you find anything in there, well, I'm gonna have to recomp. I haven't really comped anything. I know there's some of those things have price tag. Most of those, they all have price tags on them, but they may not be right. So if you see something in there and you think it might be too high, or you comp it and it is too, like, we'll talk about it, because I haven't done this. So that's why I say, hey, have you comped it recently? Especially when he had as many cards as he did in his case, with no price tags on them, right? Because sometimes somebody will be like, I've said that too. Like, have you comped that card recently? Usually a dealer will be like, well, let's check it out. Let's pull it out. Let's pull out our phones. Let's do our thing. Let's dance a little. And we may never get to a deal, right? That wasn't the case here. It was just a look. So, okay. But I say that not to dig. I say that because maybe he just hasn't recently comped it. And I certainly said it nicely too. And we know modern card prices. People don't like to price those because they're going up and down. Every show, I have the Causeway show coming up Saturday, and every show I know I have to pull these cards out. I start taking, because I'm putting the price tag, over the bag that's over the, or over the sleeve that's over the card, the slab. And a lot of times, instead of trying to put a price tag over a price tag, if I see the prices are changing, I'm pulling them out and putting them in new sleeves, right? And then putting a new price tag on. I do this for every show. So, and I know probably more than anybody how much those prices are going up and down. Sometimes I'm happy when they stay the same because it's just less work for me. And if it's only gone up a couple of bucks or down a couple of bucks, I'll leave it this. There's no sense changing the whole thing out for a few bucks. But if it's going up 15 or 20 or going down that much, then I have to, I may have to make a change on it. But the last thing I'll say here, and the last thing I'll point out is we all communicate and we all negotiate differently. And if I said some did it better than others, I would be completely wrong. Because we all do what we feel works best for us, right? And what may to me, one of the rudest things we could do to other people at a card show, especially if you're in the middle of any kind of a negotiation, and just turn your back on them. I mean, I've seen this happen before. It's happened to me before. And worse, turn their back on somebody and start talking to somebody else about how upset you are at the guy, or why you think the guy or whoever you were just negotiating with is so wrong, right? Because now you're just raising everybody's blood pressure now, right? Now everybody's getting a little bit on edge. Just finish the conversation, right? Doesn't take much. No need for any of that. I'm all set. Thanks. Appreciate you looking. Appreciate you letting me look. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity. have a great day. Great to see you at the show. Anything like, okay, we didn't get something done. That's fine. No need to just turn your back on people when the negotiations are not going well. I mean, I think that's just rude. I mean, anywhere in life, turning your back on somebody that you're in the middle of talking to is probably not going to have the best outcome. It's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. I think I might have to make up a T-shirt and wear those to the shows. Right? It's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Um, I worked out a deal during the week with my guy Neil from Massachusetts. We met. We're hobby friends. We met through the hobby. He listens to the podcast. We meet up at shows. We get some deals done. He had some cards I wanted. I had some cards he wanted. So of course, pictures back and forth, trying to get a deal done, right? And because we're hobby friends, I sent him a strong offer, which I thought just would have sealed the deal right up front, right? But it did go to one more level of negotiation before we could get the deal done. And we both agreed to meet at the halfway point between us on Saturday morning to make the exchange. So he got from me two PSA 10 Sue Bird cards and two PSA 10 Diana Taurasi cards from 0506 and in cash. And I got from him these three cards, which I'll share. I'll hold them up. If you're on YouTube, you'll see. This is the Hannah Hidalgo geometric gold auto to 250. This is 2019-2020 Absolute Memorabilia, Tools of the Trade, 4 swatch signatures, level 1 Ja Morant. This is BGS 85 with a 10 auto. And the last one is a Panini 1 RPA Joe Burrow, number 249. So I was excited to make the deal. I mean, three cards that'll be at 3 different times of the year that will be for sale, not cards that I'll just take and drop in my case right away. But one of the funny things, and I want to bring this up, after we got the deal done on Saturday, he said, "Okay, we got the deal done. I have to ask you a question." I said, "Shoot." He said, "Why did you offer so strong on my cards?" And I said, "Because we're hobby friends and I didn't want this negotiation to be awkward." Right. And I say that a lot to the people that I've become good hobby friends with. And if we get deals done, I always say, let's just come up with a number. And if we both agree, it's fine. And if we don't, we don't. And I just feel that's the best way to do things. So nothing needs to be, the negotiations don't need to be awkward. I think that's true with any, I think in life, and I'm trying to say this as quickly as possible because I have a lot of hobby friends, but I don't do a lot of hobby deals. And people I have hobby acquaintances, I have hobby friends, and I have really good hobby friends, right? So there's different levels of those things. But if we talk on somewhat of a regular basis, I don't want to get into, and if you know me, I don't want to get into a whole negotiation. And I would just assume offer strong up front and just be like, that's where I'm at with that. It's okay if you don't want to take it. I completely understand. And when I'm selling something, I'll say, hey, this is where I'm at. And if it's not where you need to be, I understand that too. It doesn't need to be awkward, right? I don't need to sit down and be hammering out a deal back and forth. We don't have to have a big negotiation. We should be able just to say to each other, what we want to get out. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, no worries, right? Just my thought on that. And if you've done deals with me, I usually offer pretty strong on deals, especially if it's cards that I want. I had a redemption come back from Panini, and it was from last year. It was Rashee Rice 2023 Spectral, the gold. I think it's gold, number to 75. I'll hold that up. You notice it's in one of my own touches with no sticker on it. This card came in a top loader inside a small padded envelope and nothing else in there. I opened it up and I'm looking aside. I'm like, sheesh, who the heck sent this out? I get the card and I said, all right, like most people do, let's go to eBay. Let's find out what they're selling for. Well, everybody else on eBay has got their card in a top loader with the Panini seal sticker on it. And I'm like, holy cow, what happened to mine? Mine barely made it into the top loader before they threw it into the padded envelope, right? I said, mine must have got packaged on a Friday, right before 10 minutes to close time. They're like, oh, just throw that in there and put the sticker on it and get it out. So we had to dress it up, put some lipstick on it. Now we've got it in a nice one touch, and it's ready to go to Causeway next week. I picked up some NCAA women's college basketball cards. 2 Juju Watkins. This is Future Stars PSA 10. This is the Aqua, number to 299. This one is raw. And I also picked up this Hannah Hidalgo, also the Aqua to 299. This is a PSA 9. So she has time. I mean, I think she has 2 years before Hannah has 2 years before she goes to the draft. But when I see the cards, the price is right, I just keep picking them up. Some other pickups I had at the shows today. These will be a little bit of a blast from the past, right? It's Trevor Lawrence, Prism Silver rookie. And these are just top loaded. Jamar Chase, Prism Silver rookie. A CJ Stroud, green Prism rookie. And rated rookie purple auto, Will Shipley. And this is number, is this 1 or 7? This is number 7 of 150. Something like this, Will Shipley. I mean, being here in the Northeast, right? A lot of Eagles fans, so I'm sure I probably won't have any trouble moving that. And my biggest card of the weekend, which I alluded to at the beginning, was Patrick Mahomes, a Blue Wave Prism rookie, number to 149. And this is also raw. And this may or may not have been graded. It probably was graded. Maybe it was. I don't know. The person who was selling it said it wasn't graded. One of the corners in the bottom is dinged. So and it's a noticeable ding on there. So I don't know if it's ever been graded or not. I tried to look it up. This is number 93 of 149. But I picked this card up raw, and I am happy to have it in my possession right now. That's all I'll say about that. But that's it. That's all I have for you. It was a fun weekend. You get out to the show. So, I bought a lot of raw stuff. I probably bought, I just showed you some of the highlights here. These five raw cards. I probably picked up like 40 raw cards. I will go through them. Hopefully if some are gradable, they're gradable. I know we talked about Panini standards of, they're grading. So if they're on the fence, I may hold off and just sell them raw. But, I tried something a little different. I'm looking in cases, and there's really couldn't find any cards in any of these cases or the prices that I wanted to pay. But it seemed like the singles boxes were, people were being, very negotiable on selling out of the singles boxes. So, I buy these singles so that if it doesn't work out, that I can send for grading. I could put them in my singles box, and I'm going to get my money back on them. I'm confident about that. So, I mean, that's what, besides my trip to Massachusetts to see Neil, to pick up those 3 cards, always looking, always trying to, find cards, outside of the shows, off of the auction sites, off of eBay, something that I can, make a good deal for, and make it make sense for me to be able to bring them to shows and set up. Saturday, I am at Causeway. So if you are going to that show, definitely come by and see me. I will be there, and I will be back on Thursday with the fellas in the Hobby Chop on a new episode there. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.